Nehemiah Griego, age 15. In 2013, Nehemiah Griego was a regular, quiet teen from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Homeschooled, loved music, went to church, but behind the scenes, this kid had a loaded AR-15 and a plan. One night, while the rest of his family was sleeping, Nehemiah walked into his parents' room and shot his mother in the head. Then he waited. When his younger brother came in crying, Nehemiah shot him too. Over the next hour, he killed his 2 younger sisters and then his father as he came home from his night shift. 5 people, all blood relatives, all dead in one night. And it didn't stop there. Nehemiah loaded the family van with guns and ammo, planning to drive to a Walmart and shoot random strangers. He even texted a girl he liked, telling her what he'd done and hinting that he wanted to die in a shootout. Instead, she called the police. When they arrested him, he was calm, said he'd been thinking about mass murder since he was 11. Showed no signs of panic or regret, just cold. Because of his age, the court fought for years over whether to try him as an adult. He was finally sentenced in 2019 to serve his time as a juvenile until age 21. But before that date hit, the judge changed their mind. Nehemiah Griego is now serving 3 life sentences plus 7 years. Harold Littleman Jones, age 15. Harold Jones was the kind of kid adults trusted. Polite, church-going, a paperboy in 1920s Wales. But behind the boy-next-door act was something much darker. It started when 8-year-old Frida Burnell went missing. She'd gone to buy chicken feed and never came home. Harold, just 15 at the time, was one of the last people to see her. The police searched his house and found Frida's body hidden in the attic. Beaten, strangled, dumped like garbage above his family's heads. He went to trial. The town was horrified, but Harold smiled in court. He cried on cue, played the innocent boy, and somehow the jury bought it. He was acquitted. 2 weeks later, he struck again. This time it was 11-year-old Florence Little. He invited her over while his parents were out, lured her upstairs, locked the door, and killed her with a hammer. Same pattern. Beaten, strangled, hidden, except now he wrote a confession and calmly handed it to police. He said he killed Frida too, but wanted to be free long enough to do it again. That was his plan all along. Harold was convicted and sent to prison until he turned 35. When released, he changed his name and vanished into London. Some think he kept killing, others say he lived quietly. Willie Bosket, age 13. Willie Bosket was born in the early 60s, and by the late 70s, he quickly became the face of teen violence in New York. A 15-year-old who could kill someone and walk free by the time he was shaving. Willie grew up in Harlem, surrounded by abuse, neglect, and violence. His dad was on death row for murder. His grandfather was also a killer. Willie never had a chance. By age 9, he was robbing trains. At 13, he shot someone during a mugging, and at 15, he killed 2 men in separate robberies, both shot point blank in the head. The twist was that under New York law at the time, he couldn't be tried as an adult. So for those 2 murders, he got 5 years in a juvenile facility. 5 years. The public freaked out. Politicians scrambled. And within months, New York passed the Juvenile Offender Act, a law written because of Willie, allowing kids as young as 13 to be tried as adults for violent crimes. They literally rewrote the law around one teenager. But it didn't change Willie. He got out, committed more crimes, and landed back behind bars permanently. Today, he's in solitary confinement and has spent more than 40 years locked up. John Romano, age 16. John Romano didn't fit the profile of a school shooter. He wasn't failing, wasn't bullied, and had no criminal past. But on February 9, 2004, he walked into Columbia High School in New York with a shotgun hidden under a trench coat and a note that read, "Today is the day." He'd been researching Columbine, looked at it like a blueprint. At 16, he'd already written about feeling empty inside and wanting to go out in a blaze of glory. So during the 3rd period, he pulled the fire alarm, took out the shotgun, and started shooting in the hallway. One teacher, Michael Bennett, ran toward the sound. John fired at him point blank and hit him in the leg. He was about to shoot again when the assistant principal tackled him from behind. John dropped the gun and got swarmed. Police later found journals and plans. He didn't have a list of targets, he just wanted to cause fear. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But the story doesn't end there. Years later, John actually spoke out. He said he regretted everything, said he was suicidal and wanted to be stopped. Today, he helps run a program from behind bars, warning kids about the signs of mental health collapse. Christian Fernandez, age 12. By the time Christian Fernandez was 12, he'd already seen more trauma than most adults. His mom had him at 12 years old. His stepfather beat him so badly that child services got involved multiple times, and Christian himself was showing signs of serious emotional damage. But nothing could prepare anyone for what happened in 2011. While his mom was out, Christian was left alone with his 2-year-old half-brother, David. At some point, the toddler started crying, and Christian snapped. He slammed David's head against a bookshelf and left him unconscious on the floor for hours. hours. Instead of calling 911, his mother waited. She Googled head injuries and then drove David to the hospital too late. The boy died the next day. When police questioned Christian, he admitted to everything. He said he'd hit his brother because he was angry. The autopsy revealed a fractured skull, brain bleeding, and other signs of long-term abuse, likely from Christian, even before this. He was charged with first-degree murder. At just 12 years old, he faced life in prison. After a long legal battle, Christian took a plea deal. He served juvenile time until he turned 19. Today, he's out. No one really knows where. Cosmo the God, Eric Taylor, age 15. Most kids get grounded for staying up too late. Eric Taylor got banned from the internet by the FBI. At just 15, he called himself Cosmo the God and rolled with a hacker crew called UG Nazi. These weren't bored kids messing with homework sites. They took down major websites, leaked personal info, and once hacked Papa John's just because their pizza showed up cold. When the feds caught him in 2012, Cosmo didn't go to jail. Instead, he got a plea deal. 6 years with no internet. If he needed to do schoolwork online, he had to ask permission, and he had to be supervised. Basically, he was like a toddler with YouTube Kids. That lasted about 3 weeks. Cosmo convinced someone to sneak him a laptop, and instead of watching some TikTok videos, he broke into a Russian black market site selling stolen social security numbers, credit cards, even celebrity credit files. Instead of keeping quiet, Cosmo blackmailed the Russian hackers, and they were so impressed, they gave him VIP access. He used it to leak everything. Every name, every address, every credit report, dumped online for the world to see. He even tipped off TMZ to cover the leaks, pretending the Russians had done it. The FBI traced everything back to his grandma's house in Long Beach. They didn't knock this time. Instead, they kicked in the door with flashbangs and SWAT gear, catching Cosmo mid-hack. You'd think that would end with prison, but it didn't. He got probation again. Today, Cosmo works in cybersecurity, helping companies stay safe from teenagers like 15-year-old him.